Hello, people of Earth. This is Tesko with Rip Kenny and Trap Jesus, and you're listening to the Human Music Podcast. Woo!
Human Music Podcast. I like it. Yo, what's up, humans? Here we are on the Human Music Podcast, and we're going to open up today talking about resistance, because we were just talking about that without the cameras rolling and realized, oh, wait, we have a podcast. So what's up, Evan? We were talking about how the other night you just decided to late night download and install Creative Cloud from Adobe and figure out how the hell to use Photoshop because you needed a Spotify banner for your absolutely kick-ass mega collab with Ill Cates and the Dead Kennedys, the Nazi Punks Fuck Off remix.
What an introduction. Thank you. Yeah, so let's back it up to, because this whole conversation is beneficial. I really feel like that's the truth. So we were talking about trying to wake up early and get shit done between like 6 and 9 a.m. and then do like normal work stuff or whatever that is. And, I'd been trying to do that, go to bed between 10 and midnight and then get up at 6. And I found that my productivity between 6 and 9, I expected it to be super high. You got that first cup of coffee, you're banging shit out. It wasn't all that much better than any other time in the day. Now, recently, I've started coming back into the studio at like 11 p.m. after hanging out with my girl for a little bit and realizing that the hours between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. are like hyper productive for me. And the biggest thing is that for whatever reason, my mental guard is all the way down and there's just no resistance. So like I was telling them, and beautifully introduced by our dear friend Trap Jesus, Luke Rain, the man. I basically was like, I have a big release coming up. I've been wanting to make myself a Spotify banner forever. And I have been having huge mental resistance to downloading Photoshop because I've tried to use it in the past and it was just fucking clunky and I had a terrible time and wasted hours. And I just fucking downloaded it, spent the 2.5 hours to learn some basic functionality. And let me share my screen here so the rest of humans on planet Earth can see. Made this Spotify banner that I've been resisting doing forever. Because I was switching up my work schedule and found that my productivity is way better late at night. And then switched it on its head and got some good results. So what about you guys? How do you feel about that concept?
Well, I am a night owl and a half, homie.
Yes. Oh, I know you are.
I was just telling the guys how I've been staying up so late getting stuff done that it was like, well, I'm up till 5. Well, I'm up till 6. Well, shit, I was just up till 7. And then Sunday, I slept from like 7 to 4 p.m. And then I realized like the best way for me to break this is not going to be try to go to bed early. It's just going to be fuck it, pulling all-nighters. So I stayed up all night pulling off last week's podcast, cutting the chunks and rendering them out of Premiere and uploading them to YouTube and stuff. And it's like, okay, well, might as well just make breakfast. It's 8 a.m. The sun's out. If I go to bed now, I'm just going to sleep till 6 p.m. and I'm completely flip-flopped on a real human sleep schedule. So, yeah, but I think for me, what really keeps me going is momentum. Like starting my day, getting into the groove of something, trying to start to feel accomplished can be a bitch. Like I remember when I had a different job that I had to work a lot more hours for at a lot more regular time frame. It would be, it was like, oh man, I got to wake up. I got to go do that. I come home exhausted after driving, around all day for this job. And I would end up coming home, trying to chill out. Oh, now I got to make some food. Oh, shit, now there's laundry. Now, damn, I got to do this or go to the store or whatever. And next thing you know, there's like a couple of hours left before I have to go crash again. And trying to get started at any point was like the hardest part. especially since I didn't get that much done yesterday or the day before that or the day before that. But now that I've, at that time in my life, I made the decision to really prioritize music. First, I just started saying, yo, instead of, hey, I have this job, when people ask me what I do, I have this job. And then, oh, yeah, also I'm a music producer. I would say, well, I'm a music producer. And, oh, yeah, I also do this job. And since then, it's been way easier to start to prioritize it actually in my life, and to the point where I'm just, even if I go to work that day, I come home and I immediately start something that can get my momentum started, and then just do not stop. Just keep doing stuff. Some days it'll be 2 a.m. and I'll look down and I'm still in my dirty work clothes from my current carpentry business. I'm like, oh man, I haven't showered. I didn't eat a real meal. I just have been snacking. I'm still in my dirty clothes. My hair's still in a tied back, but this late night thing, it's like everybody else in the house goes to sleep. All my roommates crash. Nobody knocks on my door and interrupts. It's like, putting your phone in the other room on silent times 10. It's like the whole world's silent. And the fact that I have gotten 4 things done, it's so easy to just be like, oh, I'm feeling great about this. Let's roll this momentum into the next thing. Oh, I just had a good session with the Ninja. I did some track feedback. Now I'm feeling good. That jazzed me up. Okay, now I'm going to go watch this weekly download. Oh, man, I'm going to apply these to this new draft of the song I'm working on. Apply these techniques. Oh, man, I got a draft done. You know what? Let me start a new beat. Let me do a timer. Oh, man, that felt good. Hey, let me do some video editing. You know what? Oh, man, I'm going to do some social media upkeep. Hey, this is great. And all of a sudden, you look back on your day and you've done 10 things and you feel so good about it. You want to keep that momentum up tomorrow. So momentum. How can we build momentum in our lives as producers, creatives?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it doesn't really matter whether you get up earlier or stay up longer. It just depends on knowing yourself. And I think consistency is the biggest thing. If you're flip-flopping all the time, it's going to be way harder. But if you get into that consistent routine, your body sort of anticipates it. You get to that wakeful state earlier. You could sleep less and you'll wake up before your alarm. If you can get in a routine, that's the hardest but most effective thing, I think. And same with the momentum. It keeps you going. It gives you inspiration to try out new ideas. And I feel as long as you're always itching to be making something new and get better and try something new, you're going to find the time to fit in all these things. And like you said, when you see one thing is done, you're like, yo, that felt great. Let me get on to the next thing. Definitely. And you keep that chain going. And I don't know, this, my whole music career up till this point has just felt like that same chain, just ongoing.
Totally. And I think the other important thing to note is that you can't get momentum without starting somewhere. And so realizing that almost the most important thing about this whole process is figuring out how to break that initial resistance. Because like you said, once you get rolling on the first thing, then you're like, yep, this is dope. I'm getting shit done. What else can we get done? But it's that first thing that trips you up. So what I found is that starting with whatever thing excites me the most, whether it's I've been learning a lot about Facebook advertising, Instagram advertising, or whatever, and I'm excited to try this new thing, do that first for sure, because then that allows you to get the first thing done and then you can move into the other mundane stuff. Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's you got to put 2 hours of work in on this mix down and you're dreading fucking doing a Facebook ad. Do the mix down, and then once that's done, you're like, shit, okay, we're already rolling. So I think that really helps too. The other thing, if you're feeling tired, at least for me, I guess this is kind of a specific hack, but I've found that at points in your day, you might start to slow down, the mental fog rolls in. I literally just pick up the guitar and play 3 songs. Just go to Spotify, and recently I've just been trying to learn all the songs in Toxicity by System of a Down.
Nice.
That I'm trying to learn that whole album. And so I'll literally just play 3 songs from that, and that will wake me up so much that I'll just put the guitar down and go back to hammering shit out. I found that to be so effective, which is so fun. It's better than a cup of coffee. because it like requires like mental bandwidth, and it's fun, right? Like like when you're learning and like improving at that thing, it's very intrinsically motivating. It's easier to pick up the guitar to get myself to wake up than it is to like go inside and make a cup of coffee, which is funny. But I did actually want to talk about something that we haven't talked about on this show yet today. I know that we have given a lot of productivity hacks and stuff like that in the past, and that is valuable information. But I would love to switch topics to kind of the state of the new music industry that we're in today, and kind of how the current atmosphere and climate in the music industry is changing, and how producers can best basically shift their approach to maximize on that, as well as what our thoughts on the implications for the future of the music industry is with like all these digital events and stuff like that, you know? Mm-hmm. So I guess the first thing that I would love to talk about is kind of the controversial question that came into my mind as this whole thing started happening. We'll start with problems and then we can get to solutions.
Usually the order of operations.
Yeah. So naturally, as live events are not able to happen at all these professional artists looking for an avenue to play and get exposure for their music and connect with their fans are willing to play absolutely for free or barely any money on a virtual event, playing the same set that they would play live. Obviously, it's not the same experience that you would get live, but it's the same music and, you know, mimics the live event in some ways. Are you guys at all worried that devalues the full live show, being especially that live shows are kind of the only way a touring musician makes money nowadays, like at all?
Kinda. I don't think it devalues it, man. I think it's just a different form of ingesting that content, if we're going to put it in like just blank business terms and we're talking about just promotion. It's just another way of ingesting that content that isn't as potent or exciting, I'd say. That being said, like one thing I've been thinking of is I wonder if musicians could be using this time to create more evergreen marketing or evergreen content. Like, for example, is it really worth planning out this live set that will likely look and sound very dated in like a year's time? Or is it better to be thinking like 5 years down the road and to start recording a music video or 2 or 3 or 5, and they don't need to be crazy. And that is going to be something, you know, that people are looking back at 10 years down your career, and they're going to watch those music videos and it's still going to hit the same. Whereas like a live set, I don't really feel like it would. And so it really depends on like what you're trying to do, right? I would say like the live show is awesome if you can take advantage of like the benefits of doing that via a stream or whatever. So like if there's certain shit you can only do via stream, like set up those like chat bots or whatever to like take in commands, and you could be like engaging that audience somehow that's native to that platform, and take advantage of that strategy where it works, then fuck yeah. But I think a lot of people in their mind are just like, oh, musician equal do live show, so therefore I must do live show. Like, all right, sick, what's my stream key? Let me hop on this. Whereas I think questioning a bit more like, what is the strategy? What do I want to be? If it's like a YouTuber / producer / DJ sort of personality, like we've seen a lot of people doing, I think that makes perfect sense. But like, you just got to know where your audience is and why are you making these moves. I think that's the most important thing here.
Yeah. Oh, you go for it.
I got something, man. I mean, I'm thinking of like what pieces of music content and music video content are evergreen. Like one that comes to mind is Pink Floyd's The Wall. 40 odd years later, people still talk about that, still watch that. You know, people bought that. You know, people saw it however the hell it came out in the first place. They probably played it on MTV or whatever, and then you buy the VHS, and then they re-released the special DVD edition, and people went and bought that. And then they had the Blu-ray version, and people went and bought that, and they probably had a digital download version that people go and buy now. And it's like that kind of thing where you take a dope concept, music that is undeniably good, and put some sort of timeless artistic visual expression with it. It doesn't matter how late people find it. Whereas I feel you, like, I'm a DJ and there are 2 cameras on me that we cut back and forth between, and you watch me in an empty room throwing my hand up as if there were 10,000 people in a pit in front of me. And yeah, it's like, I mean,
hollow.
You know, no shade on anybody making whatever move they're making this year to try and, you know, remain relevant and keep their current buzz up. But I mean, I'm not even that excited about most of these things. Like, oh, the Lollapalooza set and the EDC sets. And it's like, I know some folks are probably like, you know, scrambling to YouTube or figuring out how to put YouTube on their big screen TV and pop a Molly and fucking have a private living room party. I'm not that person.
Yeah.
I'm not that worried about any of those things. Like, none of those really, they don't really capture me. So like finding a way to make it more evergreen. Like, I mean, we talked about Sophie a few weeks ago, and that track Face Shopping, you press play on it, and I was like, oh my God, sonically, this is incredible.
Incredible.
And then, because that song caught me, I had to go look up what's the YouTube video. And the thumbnail for the YouTube video is Sophie's head sliced into pieces, falling apart from itself with fucking shiny reflective material coming out of each of the slices. And you're like, oh, this is going to be good. That video is so visually stimulating and cool and amazing. Like, I have been telling people about that video ever since I saw it. And you look down below, that thing came out over 2 years ago. And that's still going to be cool and worth showing people if you find it 5 years from now. And that's the kind of thing, like, how can you make something that is worth finding later? Like, what cultural significance, what, you know, Venn diagram of cultures? Like, I mean, you know, I'm not saying my video's anywhere near as cool as Sophie's, but my Air Force One Kenobi video, you know, it's like, oh, you know, the little hook I put on the song has like a sneaker reference and it has a Star Wars reference. And so, like, I made my little visual for the album art, animated it, had it bouncing. It's neat. It's not as amazing as that Sophie video at all, you know, but I learned how to use Premiere pretty well that day. But, you know, like, for people that absolutely love Star Wars and dubstep and maybe sneakers, like, that's going to be a pretty cool, interesting piece of content to find later on when they find out about me.
Definitely.
So how do we do that?
Totally. I mean, that's definitely a very multifaceted question. I would say, to follow up on my original question, I guess one of the things that I was worried about in a more fragile state of mind is that I'm worried that the natural inclination of most people being lazy after receiving that content on their couch would be more inclined to just continue inputting that content on their couch smoking dabs rather than going through the trouble of driving 5 hours, setting up camp, walking back and forth, getting harassed by security, blah, blah, blah. All of the things that are so fucking worth it to actually get that live event. But I have reservations about the normal average person in America who trends towards laziness, being more okay with just smoking dabs on their couch, watching a virtual music festival for free rather than paying for a ticket to a festival.
I mean, I think that's all cool and everything, even if you're catering to those people, but like, go all in. Like, try to make it like a dabbed out event. Like, make the like little header around your stream, not the header, the border, around your stream. Make it like the dabby like wax, and like go full in on that theme and try to incorporate like some sort of discussion about something. It could be weed related. Maybe like do a giveaway if it's like in your state and it's legal there and you can't, or something. I'm just throwing out ideas, but like there needs to be a bit like deeper thinking into why is this being done? Because it's an outlet for you to get something cooler across. It's not like I'm gonna do a live stream just for the sake of doing a live stream because I feel like I should.
Yeah.
It's like, can we make some sort of experience and start from the experience and then work into the live stream?
Yeah, and I think that the issue, like like I said, the fragile state of mind thought that I had when I was like, oh, fuck, is this going to be terrible for musicians? Is that you can't make, there's no money to be made from a stream where you're giving away all your content for free.
Not true, though, because people will donate.
That's what I was going to follow up with but that is like the very single-minded way to think about it. Like, you can reach unlimited amounts of people on the internet that could potentially be fans of you that would never drive 14 hours to go see you at the closest music festival to them. There's tons of people that might love you that would never have monetarily the resources to spend $1,000 on a festival weekend, but would love to spend $60 on a sweatshirt with your name on it. Or if it's the dab event, dude, you probably get 1 out of 10 people that are diehard fans of you that are at the dab event to buy a fucking bong with your logo on it. You know, like there's some sort of opportunity in there that, like, if you're just worried about the fact that shit's changing, you're gonna miss completely. Right?
Yo, fattest dab rip contest or whatever. Be like, yo, tweet me your fattest dab while you're watching this stream. Just create something. Yeah, exactly.
There's opportunity that the scared, fragile mind wants to feel like is just not going to happen. But like, as things change, there's always opportunity that comes along with it. The same thing with, like, everyone wants to say that the streaming age of music ruined the music industry, and all of the money that could have been made from musicians has gone out the fucking window. But that's just not the case, because the average consumer spend on music in equal dollars per inflation, is higher today than it has ever been. People are willing to spend more money on artists and music and seeing people and their merch and everything than they ever have before. Which is fascinating, right? Because it feels like, oh, I'm not gonna get my share. And I used to kind of think like that, but now that I understand the power of being able to own and run your music project as a business rather than essentially, so the old route was create a artist image or artist product, just the music, and then the label would take over, create the brand, market it, distribute all that shit, distribute all of it, and keep the 80% of that because they're doing 80% of the work.
Oh, bro, they kept a lot more than 80%. Right. Let's be real.
Whatever the percentage.
And they're a terrible business model too. They do not use that money wisely, man. I mean, there's a reason most labels have died, and we've got 3 majors left that ate all the other ones.
And they don't give a fuck about you. They're trying to make money off of you. They don't give a fuck about your artistic vision. They're trying to sell to the masses, which is why the classic story of someone that sells out and then gets label influence starts to make shitty music, because the label doesn't care about your artistic integrity. They're trying to make money. And so nowadays, where you do have unfiltered access to all of the people on the internet in the world, pretty much, like, you can control your entire artistic vision, start to finish, own all of the rights. And if you play the long game, if you do the behind the scenes work to fucking create all of those pieces that the label would do for you, in the end, you will actually make way more money.
Yeah.
Way more money, and have the sustainable back end on that work that could give you a retirement as a musician. This is something I've been thinking about a lot lately.
Especially if you own your masters and know how to exploit. Exploitation is going to happen. It's either you being exploited by a label,
Yep.
or you owning your masters and exploiting your masters. Those masters are going to get exploited by somebody. It might as well be you. This is where the word exploitation is a good thing. The actual creators owning and exploiting their own works for financial gain.
Exactly. And so if we create those pieces of evergreen content, like you were just talking about, take the time to really fucking dial in and do it right, you can create fucking income that will last you a lifetime. Whereas we never owned that before. It's a good opportunity.
There's a clip of Russ going around recently, and he's like going into his like bank statements or whatever on like the last year of his come up, and he shows how he like brought himself from $600 a month from streaming revenue to $100K a week. And it's because before he signed with any major label, he had like 200 plus songs out, and he just negotiated to keep the masters. And now he's got 2 projects out on major labels. People find him. I think he's done with labels now too, because he said it wasn't even worth it. But he went with labels for 2 releases. And don't quote me on that, but he went with them. People found out about him, binged all of his old shit. Now that's bringing in so much revenue because dude was so consistent. So like, bro, even 100K a month, even 10K, which is a tenth of that a month of what he makes in a week, is more than enough for most artists to live like fucking super comfortably, bro. Yeah. That's a doctor's salary right there. So if you make even half of that, you're living decent. So, you know, playing it smart and being aware of like where the money's actually coming from. If you own those rights, those little bits of money build up, you know, and if you have a lot of music out, you're consistent like a proper artist should be, you know, if that's what you really want. And, you know, sort of tying into the streaming and whatever, I think it all depends on like what you want. Like, what do you envision 5 years down the road? Because if you don't want to be an artist, I wouldn't tell you make a music video. You're trying to be like the tutorial sample dude, or you're trying to get clients or whatever, the live stream might be the way to go.
Totally.
But you know, yeah, man, whatever it is, own it. That's my main point there.
Like there's the 1,000 true fans model.
Yeah.
And that shit's real. If 1,000 people are willing to spend $100 a year on you, come to a couple of shows, buy a t-shirt, you know, spend the money on Bandcamp to buy the album, even if they're still going to go stream it, like that kind of shit, because they want to make sure that you are, you know, 1,000 people care enough to want to make sure that you make the next album. That's $100,000 in a year. And that doesn't count. If you have 1,000 true fans, you'll probably have 10 or 20 or 50,000, you know, casual to, you know, strong fans who are like, oh yeah, I love this artist. And tell you the truth, you know, there's very few people that I am that level of true fan about or ever have been, you know, like, but each person is gonna be that much of a fan of a couple of people. And if you can go do that, that doesn't work on the record label because you take on this building full of people that have to pay for all the people and the whole building and not care about you as much. That they need 1 million people to spend money on your record to feel like it was a success, whereas you by yourself need 1,000 people to do it. And like if you sell 50 or 100,000 as an independent who owns your masters and owns your supply, or, you know, has a, you know, just figures out a way to get the distribution out there without signing away most of your rights, you will make more money than people who sell millions and millions of records with a label. There is a point, and there is some place on the curve where having a label and a decent label deal will be beneficial overall. And a lot of it these days has to do with like distribution connections. And the other place that a lot of people forget about that oh man, musicians can't make money without touring. Fuck that shit. Sync licensing. Do you know they released 42 Netflix shows last week? Like, what the fuck? Every one of those pieces of content is full of music. Every single one. And that's one of a shit ton of networks that are out there. And they all have to pay for the music. Why isn't it yours? Because you don't know anybody. So like taking the time to, first off, educate yourself about what the fuck the business side of the music business is. That's something I'm really passionate about, because so many people, myself included, waste so much of their career only focused on the music side and forget about the business side. Like, what's ASCAP? What's BMI? Hands? Anybody? It's who collects your performance rights. So if your shit is on radio, or your shit's on Spotify Premium, or your shit is like, there's all these places where like your shit's performed out at venues, played in restaurants, played in bars and department stores, certain parts of it being played on TV. All of those get collected by ASCAP or BMI, and you can register with those. And then you start getting money if you've got music out there. I've barely done anything, have a few people that I've worked with that have done more than me, and I'm making over $100 a year from that already, and I'm not famous at all. And then there are like 50 other societies that collect on different specific things. There's Harry Fox Agency, who collects on mechanical royalties. That's a whole nother game. There's Sound Exchange that collects for internet radio, or like Spotify free, Pandora.
Back up. What is this Harry Fox thing?
So Harry Fox is an agency that's been around forever. They were the people to figure out back in the day, like, I don't know, 100 years ago or whatever, that somebody is going to need to collect on mechanical royalties. Mechanicals are when like a physical copy of your shit gets made. So like first it was sheet music, then it was phonograph records. Of course, that rolled through tapes and CDs and all the other physical modes of buying a mechanical reproduction of music. That even got dropped into digital downloads at one point. It's like, oh yeah, like fucking iTunes, every time they copy a downloadable version of that, that's a mechanical, because a machine is making a copy of this record. And there are statutes. The artist on that record is, accounted like what is like 9.1 cents per dollar or something. Garbage, but that's how labels work. If you're your own label, you get the rest of that money. But then Harry Fox is an agency that they're also the people, they collect on all those mechanical royalties, track and collect them. So you have to sign up with them with an account and tell them what all your songs are so that they can track them, so that they can give you your money.
But you're telling me that I need an account with these Harry Fox guys, just like I have an account with ASCAP to collect the rest of my money?
Yeah. And that's not the rest of it.
I thought I knew something about anything. I clearly don't.
Oh my God, there's so much.
Hold up. Rewind the whole fucking tape.
Let's keep going. Yeah.
I am an independent producer, and I am distributing all of my own music that I made myself and mastered myself and wrote the lyrics for myself on DistroKid or wherever. Run me through all of the different facets of where I need to sign up to collect all of the money.
Okay, disclaimer at the front. I definitely don't know them all.
Yeah, I don't care. You clearly know more than me, and I thought I was researched. So
yeah,
you know more than 95% or plus of anyone who's listening. So
yeah, so obviously if you're with DistroKid, they collect some money like direct from some of the streaming. I'm not 100% exactly which of that money it is, or even why. That kind of confuses me. But, you got your account there. They track something, they collect something, and they eventually pay it to you. Here's your $15 for the last quarter or whatever, right? Then ASCAP and or BMI. There's a third in the U.S. called CSAC, but they're invite only. They are owned by Blackstone, something that Harry Fox and CSAC are sister companies that are owned by the same parent company. The music Modernization Act, which went into effect 2 years ago, was voted through 2 years ago and started going into effect to try and help figure all this shit out and conglomerate things and raise the statutory rates that have been static for over 100 years. At the very, like, everybody had come to the table, done all this negotiation, all these different parties. ASCAP and BMI had done a bunch of fighting for people. There's all these nonprofits that had gone into the negotiation with government and figured all this stuff out. And at the very last minute, this Harry Fox CSAC, conglomerate company came in and were like, hey, we're going to try and hold the whole thing up unless we can have a big seat at this table, because we've been making so much money off of this for so long. We're going to be pissed if it changes. And I'm definitely not the most knowledgeable person on that aspect of exactly what happened there or even how it went down. But I know they came in and tried to hold it up at the last minute. And I think they did end up using their leverage to get a bigger seat at the table, but they also didn't derail it as much as they were trying to. So, kind of another compromise there. Then, as part of the Music Modernization Act, they decreed that it was like 10% of Spotify and other streaming giants' revenue had to go to the actual songwriters. And they decreed that it would have to raise like by 0.9% a year. So it was like 10 point something, and then it was going to go to like 15.1 over 5 years. And then Spotify and Amazon, I think, are trying to fight that. And like take that to court to, do we really need to do that? Because then we won't be able to exist. Side note, Spotify pays like, millions, like $3 million a month for their New York offices. Just signed a $10 million 10-year deal with Joe Rogan to get his podcast on their network because they're trying to corner the podcast space. And it's like, oh yeah, you guys definitely don't have enough revenue to support the people that actually create the art that is 90% of your business. That's not even to mention the like 51% of their revenue deal they signed with the major labels when they first got together with the labels, because they needed those major label catalogs to have a viable business model. Otherwise, they'd just be SoundClouding out right now, because it's like, oh yeah, if you really like digging for obscure music, SoundCloud's your spot. But there's so much of the real music that most people actually give a fuck about and would pay $10 a month to go hear, is just it's not there. Mm-hmm. So to actually get back to the point, you need to sign up with ASCAP and or BMI. I recommend ASCAP. I'm with ASCAP. There are two sides to every record. There is the writing side that ASCAP collects on. There is the publisher's share and the songwriter's share. If you're an independent and you're not signed to an actual publishing company, you are both. Get both accounts. With ASCAP, it's $50 per account. That is forever. It's a setup fee, and then you have those forever. And if you only get one, like a lot of silly people think, oh, I'm not a publisher, so I'm just a writer. I'm just going to get the writer's side. You're dumb, and you're literally saying, no, thank you. I don't want 50% of my money I'm owed for the music I made. So become your own publisher. Just set up, pick a name, register it with ASCAP. Like I'm Lucas Rainverver, the songwriter, as an actual government human being, and then Luke Rain is my publishing company named after my artist project, and there we go. Some people are like such and such a publishing, and then here's my writer's name, and doesn't matter, but you need both sides. With BMI, they give you the writer side for free, but then it's like $150 minimum to get the publishing account, or more depending on if you've got a more complicated situation. And it doesn't really matter if you go BMI or ASCAP past that. But that's to collect on performance royalties, one little place where you can get money. Then Harry Fox does mechanical royalties, and also they handle all cover song licenses. So if you wanted to do a remix of somebody but realized you wouldn't be able to upload it anywhere, you could do a cover version. But to get a cover version, you have to pay this blanket license where you pay Harry Fox, and then they pay most of that to the original writers of that song, and then you can do the cover version. That way you own the publishing on this new version, but the original writers own the writer's share because you're covering their song. So you know, say you want to, you know, do a Taylor Swift. We're listening to those metalcore covers the other week. You know, all of those songs, you know, they're the label for that, you know, or the publisher for that metalcore group owns the publishing, and then the actual writing is still Taylor Swift's or Kendrick Lamar's because they're using their actual lyrics, which is the overall frame of the song. Then there's more. Sound Exchange will collect on non-interactive streaming. So like Pandora, internet radio, free Spotify or Apple Music, where, you know, you can't actually pick what the next song is. You can just like put in an artist and then it'll give you like, oh yeah, you'll probably like a lot of the stuff we play, that kind of shit. That is a whole other collection agency called Sound Exchange. Right? Then, yeah, and bro, I'm just scratching the surface here.
Oh my God.
And then there is, I mean, like YouTube. You get your YouTube money from a company called AdRev, stands for ad revenue. They collect on YouTube advertising. And I know there are so many more that I know about, but I've been talking for so long that my mind is starting to fizzle out. And I know there's a lot more past that. There is a company called, oh my God. See, yeah, my brain is fizzling out. I'm tripping right now. But there is a company that does kind of publishing administration online where they will, man, my Bounce Gang homies are going to clown me for having forgot this name. But here's the thing, like, find people that know something about this and get together and figure this shit out. Like, I'm really blessed to be a part of this Bounce Gang situation. It's a whole big collective of people that are all trying to learn things, and we're all learning different stuff. Like, you know, me as a part of what we're doing here, we're learning more about marketing and sales online. But I've got homies right now that have been really working on figuring out how to set up our own distribution situation. They've been busting ass on this for months, and we just actually got our own distribution situation set up. So instead of having like DistroKid and being like, I'm not really sure what's happening behind the scenes, there's not a lot of transparency. All I know is I pay a small amount per year, and then I get a small amount of money back, and it's easy to put my shit online. That's all I know. And they got a little bit of analytics that tell you, oh, like, yeah, like some people listen to your shit, and they might have been in that country. There's not much. We decided, no, we really want to know what's going on behind the curtain. You know, we want to be the great and powerful Oz for our own music business. So we decided that we're going to go set, you know, and I say we, my homies that I am associated with and in a crew with have been busting their ass. Shouts to those guys for
Homies Incorporated.
Yeah, right. Bounce Gang, man. It's we're Kangaroo distribution, and we're you know, we're setting up as a part of that. We're setting up Kangaroo Records and also Kangaroo Publishing Administration. We've got a whole nother sub team of Bounce Gang that is currently really understanding publishing administration, like listing out all of the places that we need to register our music with and how to collect that back. And we're going to be our own publishing administration aggregator, so that instead of having each one of us have to learn these 100 places to get our money, collectively we will learn them, figure out a way to automate the whole process so that you can register, put all your info in, and then have partnerships with all of these places so that I register my song, it automatically registers with all these places, and then all of that money comes back to our one big pot. So instead of having to wait for every company's payment threshold of like, oh, you got to have at least $100 in this bank and $50 in that one and $25 in that one, and they're coming in at fractions of a penny at a time. So you might not get to see that money for years. You know, it's like, oh, well, we're just all going to put it in one pot and then make our payment threshold to give you money from our pot $1. And then it's like, okay, cool. When we'll pay out every month. So as long as you made $1 this month off music that was collected, you get it. And then you can put that back into your ads for your next album or whatever, your next single. So yeah, moral of the story is educate yourself, meet people online or whenever we're allowed back outside at events. You know, like that's how I know all of these people. I traveled out of Seattle where there's a great talent dope venues and almost no music business. I left my city to go to places where a bunch of people from all over the world were meeting to learn about music business. I went to the ASCAP Expo. I went to South by Southwest and, met folks. I went to iStandard. I talk about iStandard a lot. That's how Bounce Gang even exists. We all showed up at iStandard events all over the country, became friends with each other, and we're like, hey, let's form a crew. And now one of the heads of iStandard, shouts to Scissor from the Chopping Block podcast, he is basically now the head of Bounce Gang because we all look up to him, and he knows more than the rest of us and is helping us, form subcommittees to understand these things and put things together and become, get strength in numbers. So find your people, find your tribe, and figure out, oh, you're interested in that. Like right now, Evan is really looking into how to market oneself on Spotify and get your streaming numbers up, and I'm, diving into, really reading all these books about marketing and selling stuff on the internet. And then we're coming back together, sharing what we know, and then taking our tasks that we're better at and doing them for each other. And like that strength in numbers shit is powerful. It's, it's undeniable. Get some people and split up the tasks. I've been talking for a long time.
I was gonna say, y'all,
that's all great.
Y'all got to squat up. Y'all got a Kangaroo. What a great fucking name! God,
yeah,
that is catchy as hell. Kangaroo. Yeah. I'm just gonna start saying that for fucking fun.
Right? Yeah, man.
A Kangaroo down mountain bike trails. Dude,
I'm pretty sure I came up with that. We're Bounce Gang, and they were like, "Oh, what should be our logo?" And somebody was like, "Well, kangaroos bounce. That would be lit." And plus, we're like a mob, and a kangaroo is a mob. We're like, "Oh shit, that's lit. We'll make a little kangaroo, and for our logo." And then I was like, "Wait, Kangaroo." And that stuck. So
Kangaroos are kind of complete assholes. How do you feel about that? Any comment?
Hey man, bruh, sometimes people got to get punched and kicked to get, to get your music royalties, bruh. Like we had our original logo was like a kangaroo from the side view, like jumping and wearing like headphones and a varsity jacket. Cause like, oh, we're a team. It's kind of like a sport and we're music. It makes sense. And then we just revamped it to a kangaroo, like anthropomorphic kangaroo staring straight at you wearing boxing gloves going like this. Like, I will fuck you up, bro. Sometimes you gotta evolve what you're really feeling. We're not going that way. We're coming right at you now.
Yeah.
Kangaroos are fucking jacked animals. Y'all ever see the video of the dude that had to punch the kangaroo in the face because he was about to eat his dog or some shit?
See how stunned the kangaroo looked after?
Yeah, dude, he got him right in the jaw, and he's like, "Oh, oi, mate, no one's ever fucked with me like that."
Yeah,
one of my ninjas at the dojo, Hillbilly Lo-Fi, shouts to Craig, actually, like, I was telling him that Bounce Gang's kangaroos and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, yeah, hold up. And he, like, literally, like, takes some pictures out of his window and is like, yeah, here's some kangaroos. They always come into my yard and eat all my strawberries and my apples, assholes. And I'm like, oh, they're Australian deer. And then I looked at the kangaroo picture. I'm like, it's got a deer head. Like, why didn't I ever see it before?
Shit, you just blew my mind, man.
Funny, dude. Oh my god, that's so accurate.
They are Australian.
Literally, so we just moved down to Bend, and literally before we got this fence up that just took us a couple weekends to build, all of our flowers. We didn't know at the time, but apparently tulips are called deer bonbons down here because deer would just wander into your yard in the middle of the night and just eat all your flowers.
Yep.
All your flowers are gone. So that is a hilarious parallel that you just drew there. Oh my god. Okay. I wanted to circle back a little bit to basically
the whole like live streaming versus shows thing.
Oh man, honestly, I've been very happy with the information that I've even learned from just that conversation. Yeah, I wanted to mention we're going to put some sort of show notes together for some more information on what we were talking about with the where to collect all your royalties and stuff, because it's obvious I need to do more research too, but Luke also knows a whole lot. And so obviously I'm sure you guys are also very curious on the total picture of that. So we'll put together some links and references for you all to study. But I wanted to circle back to the mechanical versus performance rights. So I didn't know that like Pandora and Spotify free paid differently than Spotify Premium. So do they pay at different rates too?
Yeah, it's complete, like interactive and non-interactive streaming are treated completely different when it comes to royalty generation and collection. Because when you can specifically pick to play one song over and over, or like pick and choose which tracks, like, oh, I want to specifically go here When the Levee Breaks by Led Zeppelin right now, as opposed to like, I want to put on general Led Zeppelin radio and hear whatever 70s rock they toss at me for the next 3 hours. It's you know, it makes sense though, right? Like it makes sense that it would be different once the concept exists in your brain. But before that, like why wouldn't they just, oh, the song got played, it should give you money. But again, music business is terribly convoluted. So the people that win, especially in the independent game, are the people who innovate and figure out ways to actually like build a fan base, build a content that their fan base loves, so they can build a fan base that love them, so that they can have dope opportunities to monetize in ways that their fans actually want to support. Like, you know, rocking. So, I mean, like fucking Rick and Morty make content that I love, and I own like 9 t-shirts that licensed their images. Like, you know, shouts to Justin and Dan, because holy shit.
They're listeners for sure. Shout out.
Hey, eventually they either will be listeners or they'll have to sue us for the name. Either way, I call it a win-win.
They'll hear us.
They'll be like, that's clever. I like your little theme song. That's cute. I'll give you a free pass because you made that.
I wonder if they'll be like, I like it.
I would hope so. Among other things.
Yo, though, one thing I did want to say earlier to swing back to that conversation about, you know, will streams incentivize people to never get off their couch? No, man. Literally hundreds of thousands of people in this country are dying. 1,000 people a day are dying from the worst disease we've seen in 100 years, and people still are going to festivals and concerts because they cannot stay indoors and sit and watch TV all the time. I am not worried at all. When they actually open it up and have festivals again, I bet attendance is going to be up from ever.
Oh, yeah.
Like, holy shit. Even though the economy will be in the worst shambles it's been in since 1930. Like, people are still going to find a way to fucking get the money to go to a weekend festival. Like, it's still going to happen.
Everyone realizes how much they took it for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially.
Yeah. And that's why I wanted to start with the problems, because there are so many solutions. But it's easy when we're all cooped up by ourselves and scared about the future to come up with all the reasons why things are fucked. You know, it's way easier to come up with those kinds of topics on why the world sucks ass right now, instead of, you know, think holistically about what the opportunities are and what potentially moving forward might actually be better in the long run. You know, like the whole streaming conversation, like I really thought that SoundCloud would be the full democratization of the music industry. And it was in some respects, where today's crop of touring artists that are niche, you know, like not pop artists. We're talking like most electronic artists that you love came up in a SoundCloud era in which it was democratized for the best music to be heard, right? And so that resulted in people getting popular and being able to tour off having no gatekeepers. And then Spotify came back, and I was like, oh man, now all the playlist owners, gatekeepers, blah, 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 I want to be angry about this. But there's so much more opportunity still, so much more today than you ever had before.
Yeah, there was like 9 bands got big a year ever. back in the day.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, the Jackson 5 got one of those spots, so most of the rest of the people are fucked.
Yeah. And that's why most people have a scarcity mindset when it comes to success.
And a lot of people just have a complaining mindset. Like, for example,
true.
I haven't even read the article or watched the video of what he said, but the head of Spotify came out last week like, oh, hey, by the way, guys, you know, the old model of releasing one big album every 3 or 4 years doesn't work anymore. The way artists needs to do it is release singles consistently to keep their fan base engaged. And so many people who have never done anything or educated themselves about the music business are on Facebook, on my Facebook feed, mad like, man, fuck that guy. First, he's an asshole for making Spotify, and then he's saying things I don't want to hear. But it's just true. You can't get mad at a dude saying shit's true. Like,
well, you can.
the best, you can, okay. Getting mad at that guy doesn't make it untrue.
Doesn't help.
That's what's up. It doesn't help shit. Listen to him. You can not like him. You can not like his service. You can not like the fact that they don't pay songwriters enough and that they're trying to make sure they don't pay them even more than that. But listen to the man. The man knows his shit about the business side of music because he's got one of the biggest players in the music business currently. That's not tied to a huger multi-billion-dollar organization that doesn't need to make. Like, Apple Music's going to win because everybody's going to buy iPhones anyways, so they don't even have to make music off their service. That's why Spotify wants to sue to keep those royalty rates down, is because they need to keep their margins up, and they don't have an Spotify phone for people to spend $1,000 on every 2 years. But the reality is, if you want to be relevant to your fans who have short attention spans in 2020 and beyond, you need to be releasing regularly. Like, the most successful indie artist I'm currently working with is Sam Shoemaker, and his current release schedule, we were talking about it. At first he was like, oh, when should you release? Every couple of months, every 6 weeks maybe? And he's been looking at the algorithms and doing a lot of research. Every 3 weeks is a really good release schedule. Putting out one song, a single song, not an EP, a single song every 3 weeks. And by the way, if you learn how to run your distribution correctly, you can take songs that you release as singles, put their ISRC codes together, and make them an EP and streaming later. That's why people come out with their few lead singles as singles, and then all of a sudden they're part of the album.
Hold on. You can do that without having to make a copy of the song. It will keep your streaming numbers. So you got 10,000 on your single, and then you pull it into the EP. Yeah, I didn't know that. I learned that shit like a week or two ago. Shouts out to Sam Shoemaker. Explain.
I mean, I'm mentioning like every
ISRC
song
code, bro.
The ISRC code is the International Standard Recording.
Yes.
The ISRC.
Whatever. Before I move forward, I actually have to Google ISRC so I can give people the correct
International
Standard Recording Code.
How do I make an EP out of singles?
So the International Standard Recording Code, every sound recording, when you register, it gets its own unique code, and then you can go into, and I'm gonna Google this too. Then DistroKid, how to add singles to an album. Boom! It auto-filled for me. Yes, just upload the single first, then upload the entire album, including the single, as a separate release. Once the full releases in stores, you can leave the single or remove it and have only the album version. But if you use your existing ISRCs, the exact same audio file in your original upload, same metadata, this might help retain the play counts. Nothing they can guarantee. Interesting. Okay, well, again, that's why DistroKid is amazing and also kind of trash. But again, man, maybe we should just have Sam Shoemaker on for him to explain a lot of this shit, because this dude has been really going ham into how to understand how to get his Spotify numbers up, how to build an audience, release good content. He's a rapper, not a producer. Sweet, because then I get to produce tracks for him. But he's been really studying how to get his Spotify numbers up and how to Facebook advertise himself and things. So he'd be a good guest.
He's super knowledgeable. And honestly, you know what's funny? The last time, so I had a conversation with him when we released the Do It For Me remix EP. Mm-hmm. We were talking about Facebook promo. I have learned, what was that? Was that March? April? March.
Sounds about right. Doesn't matter. Move on.
5 months. In 5 months, I have learned so fucking much. I bet I could teach him some stuff.
Which is why we should get together. Like, you have friends, you each go learn something, you come back together, and you're like, oh, you learned that shit? I didn't know. I learned this shit. You didn't know? We're both smarter.
I don't want to assume that, but basically through intaking the content of 5 or 6 different courses and implementing it and testing it, literally just today, the thing that I've been trying to do is fucking game the algorithms to land my shit on Discover Weekly. Literally just today, my song that I released at the end of May hit Discover Weekly for a grand total of 2,200 plays in a day.
There
from it fucking feeding that shit to Discover Weekly, and I'm really excited to wake up tomorrow and see if that happens again or increases or whatever. But I got a lot of shit to share with you guys too. I got a lot of good. Now thinking about it, I got a lot of good shit, and I'm gonna cliffhanger you and not share it with you until next week. But it will be worth it because I have a lot of knowledge I can distill down for you guys in a very short period of time.
Yeah, man. This has definitely been one of our most like music business understanding how shit works kind of episodes, and I'm excited to do more of these. Yeah. Because it'll also help keep me on my game. By the way, I couldn't think of the name of the worldwide publishing royalty collection system. It's called Song Trust. SONGTRUST.com, Song Trust. It says, what is Song Trust? It's the world's largest global royalty collection service. Song Trust streamlines the music publishing administration of 2 million plus songs. Add yours. It's basically, they built all the relationships digitally and the digital registration systems with all of these different collection agencies and aggregated it. And then they were just bought last year by a company called Jamber. If any of y'all have heard of Jamber, they like won some big grant for like music technology a couple of years ago and started really, really moving forward. They built an app called Split. So if you're collabing with people, download the Jamber Splits app. It's a free app. You can make a split sheet where you guys agree to the percentages that each of the songwriters is entitled to. Like, say, the 3 of us made a track and we decided to split it 3 ways evenly. We could do that. One person would get the 33.34 instead of the 33.33, and you'd have to fight over that 0.1% or whatever. But or if it's like, I made most of the song and then I wrote the vocals, but the vocalist like did a little bit of changing around to the melody, and I wanted to give them a percentage and be like, all right, well, what do you agree to? What sounds fair to you? 5% of the record? Dope. That sounds good. Let's make it work. And then since they bought Song Trust, they're working to implement a system where then straight from that Splits app, you can then, with the click of a button, and that's where their monetization will come in. You can buy like a pack of 10 registrations for $5 or something. And so for like 50 cents, you can then click a button and save yourself many hours of having to go register your song with all of these different societies. And then through Song Trust, royalty collect it for you. So
I will do that for sure. I don't want to fucking spend time doing admin shit. I just did that the other day for a couple songs on ASCAP. Actually, it was really easy to just do it on ASCAP.
Oh, it's super easy to do it on ASCAP.
No time at all. But I didn't know that there's fucking 10 other places I got to go do the same shit.
And that's the thing. There's probably more than 10.
What?
There's probably more than 10. There's like a lot of places. And a lot of what I was talking about is just how it works in the U.S.
I was just going to say, that's just the U.S.
And then all these other countries have completely different systems. Like I've been talking about ASCAP and BMI. I know a good chunk of our listeners are in Canada. SOCAN is who you have to sign up with to do your performance rights that's your performance rights organization, or PRO in Canada. You know, if I know we've got some listeners in the UK, it's PRS. In the UK, in France, it's SACEM. You know, in every country. SACEM. Yeah. Sauce. I thought it was SACEM for the longest time because there's a C in there, but then my French homie Lawless told me it's actually pronounced SACEM. Shouts out to Lawless from Bounce Gang.
Awesome.
Yeah. SACEM is awesome.
No, honestly, like, this shit is so valuable. This is so, like, this is the fucking podcast that I literally wish that I could listen to years ago. Like, I've always looked for this type of information as it specifically relates to music production from my driver's seat. No one ever talks about this shit. No one ever explains it in layman's terms. No one ever, like, you got to dig through a bunch of dry ass shit on Google, and I still didn't find all the information.
Yeah. That's because the people that have traditionally known this shit have traditionally been exploiting musicians to keep more of their money. And it's time for us to empower ourselves. We have Google, there are technologies, and there is less and less of an excuse to get screwed. Like, people get scammed and screwed and taken advantage of all over the place. But at a certain point, you know, it's like, yeah, I don't want to blame the victims. But on the other hand, how much blame do you have for being ignorant? And that's not being dumb. It's literally just ignoring the available information. Like, how much of a responsibility do we each have to take onto ourselves? Like, I'm a music business person, but I didn't learn anything about the business side. Well, that's why you got screwed out of your money, because somebody else who took the time to educate themselves let you get into a bad deal with them. They presented you with a bad deal, and you said, yep, and you signed it. You didn't ask a lawyer. You didn't Google anything. You didn't maybe read through the contract. Well, maybe that's on you, too. You know, they're a dick for doing it, but you're kind of a dick to yourself for having done it.
Yep. Well, shit. This was a fantastic episode. Humans of Earth, I hope you enjoyed it as well. Next week, 3 steps to Spotify success. Myth debunked. All of the wealth and power that you've ever dreamed of distilled into 3 easy steps of marketing. But that's next week, so...
That's going to be a good one.
I'm looking forward to learning on that one. Damn, son.
Hell yeah.
You got me excited. I'm definitely going to tune in next week. Well, peace, humans.
Humans, later. See ya, I guess.
Peace among worlds.
I like it. What's up, humans? It's Luke, your friendly neighborhood trap Jesus. Thank you so much for watching our videos. We appreciate you. Remember to like and subscribe to our channels. And if you have any questions or topics that we need to cover on the show, put them in the comments. Appreciate you. Peace, and peace among worlds.